There's no doubt about it, defending is dead. You only have to look around. Not every team can play like Barcelona, and this evolution of the game, for me, it's not natural. I think a number of rule changes have made it impossible for defences to be able to defend.
That may be a pertinent point for defenders like Baresi and Maldini, who had to deal with the change between being allowed to put the ball back to the goalkeeper's hands and not being allowed. But now you have a case of people like, say, Hummels and Gerard Pique, who grew up never being able to pass the ball back to the goalkeeper. So that's not going to make their task
Hummels and Gerard Pique the same standard as Maldini and Baresi. Nowhere close.
What I will give you is the active offside rule. But in my opinion, that's actually made defending more difficult, because you've got more of the pitch to play in, and because the ball is active and the ball is alive more often than not. And on an individual level, you have people like Pique and people like Hummels, for example. And I'd also throw in maybe Leonardo Bonucci from Juventus and Holger Badstuber from Bayern Munich. Yeah, sure, in outright defensive attributes, these guys are not as good as their predecessors. However, what they do have is ball-playing capabilities that are far beyond, in my opinion, the abilities of your Baresis and of your Gentiles.
But we're talking about the art of defence. Yeah, being able to play with the ball is not a defensive art.
The art of defence has changed. What you're describing in the modern game now is largely redundant. Somebody who can head the ball away and tackle and position. That's only, one small part of what makes a defender. And you take teams like Bayern Munich and Juventus who want the ball and want to pass it. Well, what Gianluigi Buffon needs is not somebody telling him to launch it over his head, although he has that in Chiellini. What he needs is somebody like Bonucci who will take it to feet 100%. And will pass it short.
I pick a defender
and will pass it long and can actively find his teammate with a pass. And you have Pique and you have Bonucci and you have Badstuber, who are massive exponents of this. Although they get caught out in the defensive aspects, what they can do is deliver the ball and keep the ball circulating, keep it in possession.
If I'm picking 4 defenders in my team, I want them to defend, first and foremost. I don't care if they're able to pass the ball. Bonucci,
so what you're saying, you're automatically going to cede possession of the ball to the opposition?
Well, no.
Because you're inviting people onto you. That's what you're asking.
I'm not going that far, but what I'm saying is Leonardo Bonucci, who you mentioned, is an excellent distributor of the ball, but he's a poor defender.
What I would say to you, Carlo, is there is a tendency for teams to be proactive and to take use of the ball. However, it has been shown at the highest level in the last few months that when teams need to be reactive and when they need to be tight as a back four and have their concentration and have their marking and have their positioning spot on, they're capable of doing it. I'll give you 2 examples. One is Chelsea, who won the Champions League by effectively smothering Barcelona in the semi-finals, and did the same thing to Bayern Munich to a large extent in the final. Now, this is the same Chelsea team, by and large, who are playing exciting football, an exciting brand of football in the Premier League this season, and not relying on that reaction, that reactiveness. Also, you can see what Celtic did to Barcelona last week at home. Now, over the course of 2 legs, Celtic trailed Barcelona for a total of 1 minute, and they ended up, taking 3 points off them at Parkhead. Now, this is the same Celtic team who can't really buy a win in the SPL at the moment when they're trying to take the ball out and pass it, because they're leaving gaps in behind. But what this personnel and this manager and Johan Malvi, what they've all shown is that when it comes down to it and the need to come back to those basic tenets of defending, then teams at the top level are still capable of doing it. But it's just not in their interest to do so, because you can't afford to give the ball away so much.
Part the bus is not a sign of strength, it's a sign of weakness. In the past, there were many different forms of defence. There was the offside trap, there was using a sweeper, there was man marking. All those forms of defence, they've all died, and as a result, we see some of the
become obsolete, Carlo. So defenders have had to change. Coaching has had to change, and what it's done is created a more exciting game for a start, because there's more goals and more chances been given up. But when it comes down to it,
watching a game that's 7-5 is not exciting for me.
What, you prefer to watch a 0-0 draw?
I would prefer to watch a 0-0 draw that makes me think, not just playground football where missed kicks from Laurent Koscielny and own goals, and that's not football for me.